Hi, thanks for coming. So here is my research performing non-relationality and AI ethics, a critical study on movement, mobility, and post-human performativity in delivery algorithm. This paper explores the ethics of artificial intelligence from a non-relational perspective, addressing a critical gap in current AI ethics debates. Focusing on algorithmic governance in food delivery platforms that exploit low-cost labor, what Karen Hao, the paper is on the MIT review, has termed AI colonialism. The study interrogates how such critics may remain trapped within anthropocentric frameworks, drawing on Carrera's concept of non-relationality. I propose a reparative post-human ethical approach that foregrounds object-oriented mobility and challenges relational paradigms of justice, responsibility, and protection. By examining the performative entanglements between delivery workers, deep learning systems, legal infrastructures, and environmental conditions, the paper advocates for decentralized social-technical imaginary of AI. Ultimately, I argue that performance studies offer a fluid epistemological space for rethinking AI ethics beyond relationality and beyond the human. So what do we think about when we think about food delivery? I list a list of consideration here. For example, long and unexpected waiting time, crisis handling, fewer deliveries, low revenues, unable to predict orders, and also low carrying capacity, order demand, unable to predict orders, etc. Especially there's a paradoxical relationship between there's a increasing demand of delivery and lower uh there's a lower capacity for algorithm space to handling the relationship between the traffic and the delivery people. So, for example, I gave a few case studies here. In the first half of 2017, Shanghai traffic police data revealed that on average, one food delivery rider was injured or killed every two uh, and a half days. In the same year, Shenzhen reported 12 uh, also traffic police, the delivery riders in the 3 months. Chengdu traffic police in 7 months span in 2018 documented nearly 1,000 violations. 196 accidents and 155 injuries, equating to one rider harmed daily due to violation. In September 2018, Guangzhou Traffic Police penalized nearly 2,000 cases of traffic violations by food delivery riders. According to magazine interview, so there's already quite of the interview and research on the delivery uh, issues in China already. So I summarize the data here. Delivery time is a crucial metric, with delays resulting in negative reviews, reduced income, and even job termination. Delivery workers are essentially racing against time, competing with the traffic police, and forming an alliance with traffic lights. Without breaking traffic rules, they can only complete half of the number of deliveries in a day. Writers are unable to challenge the algorithmically assign time frames individually and resort to speeding to compensate for delays. Even a short 1 kilometer distance must be covered within 20 minutes, forcing riders to unavoidably exceed speed limits, run red lights, and ride against the traffic. Microfocal disciplinary power. So I give us the theoretical framework of my research here, from focal to deduce. Microfocal disciplinary power model replaces a singular source of power sovereignty within the series of institutions such as factories, prisons, schools, hospital, and even families to exercise and manage power over subjects. Disciplinary power lacks the coercive force of sovereignty. Instead, it operates according to a set of norms and rules. Disciplinary power functions like a surveillance gaze, wherein subjects internalize behavioral standards, learn to command their bodies, or are supervised through other societal mechanisms. The neural network algorithms used in food delivery apps are opaque, making surveillance in various aspects complex. Various aspects of this theoretical framework, norms, hierarchies, spaces, seem non-transparent, and the institution involved in managing users appears seemingly arbitrary. With the algorithms governing the movement, scheduling, and distribution of the food delivery workers, power seems to be distributed at a micro level, the so-called focus micropower. A Foucault initially described the shift from sovereign to a disciplinary society. Deleuze extend this transformation into a third model that where subjects are controlled by invisible rules and regulatory system, the reward punishment system of food delivery platforms based on the punctuality and speed. So when you use the food delivery apps, there's a panel system. If you have not have the enough time, couldn't send your food on time, there's a punishment. Also, if you stop too long, there will be a warning. So it's an illustration of this logic. The freedom offered by food delivery platforms without a formal contract necessity self-watering and self-regulations of behavior by delivery workers. Give us after giving a basic theoretical framework, I argue for from a diagnostic political perspective to a participatory politics to understand how the AI ethic work. In Carrier House article, over the last few years, an increasing number of scholars have argued that the impact of AI is repeating the patterns of colonial history. European colonialism, they say, was characterized by the violent capture of land, extraction of resources, and the exploitation of people, for example, through slavery for the economic enrichment of a conquering country. While it would diminish the depth of past traumas to say the AI industry is repeating this violence today, it is now using other more insidious means to enrich the wealthy and powerful at the great expense of the poor. So, for example, in Latour, Bruno Latour's article, Why Has Cricket Run Out of Steam? From Matters of Fact to Matters of Concern? Regarding artificial intelligence ethics, I believe challenging the discourse of the AI colonialism, calling for transformation from a diagnostic political perspective to participatory politics is crucial to understand how the non-human ethics work. So before I enter my topic of non-relationality, I'll start with relationality first. From the below disciplinary, I explain what is relationality. So you can see from the picture I give here in the chemistry and the people relationship net, and there's knowledge web net. There's a how do we organize things is relationality. For example, information exists within the structure. How does knowledge connect with each other? Is relationality. In data science, we discuss how data is organized and structured to extract meaningful information, explore database, data structure, and algorithms for managing and retrieving information. In computer science, we discuss how programming language organizes data by utilizing structures like arrows, lists, and trees. In organizational theory, discuss how organization structure information, including hierarchies, workflows, and communication channels. So in the philosophy of epistemology, we reflect on the philosophical implication of the statement, considering how knowledge is structured and acquired. So after relationality, I briefly talk about how do a artificial intelligence researcher talking about relationality and AI ethics. David Gunkel contends that an entity of moral status is not based on inherent qualities, but on objective, observable, external relationships. In addition, Karen Barad believes ethics is determined by recognizing that matter and meaning are entangled, as our ethical responsibility extends to all entities and their interactions. Interaction understand the agency as not an inherent property of individual or human to be exercised, but as a dynamic of forces. So after talking about relationality, now I'm talking about the non-relationality. What is non-relationality? I propose that thinking ethics and care non-relationality disrupt discursive syntax and challenge the coherence in words that center in the constitutive outside, focusing on the marginalized racial groups whose experience shape the ethical boundary even when unrecognized vulnerable populations. In critical Black studies, Fred Moulton understands relationality to be an expression of power, structured by the giveness of transcendental subjectivity that the Black cannot have, but by which the Black can be had. It is indeed a structural position that he or she cannot take, but which he or she can be taken. In Anthropocene studies, Carrera articulates the non-relationality from critical Black studies as a disorderly and disruptive nature of Black experience prompts a re-evaluation of established critical modalities challenging the current ethical Anthropocene. As Fred Moulton pointed, the structure of the relationality is essentially the condition for the possibility of their enslavement. Carrera suggests the non-relationality offers the possibility of freedom for unmarked groups. Imagining an ethics of non-relationality addresses what Derrida calls ill want, the absolutely unexpected and the unexpectable arrival, or like Carrera suggests, what I call the stranger, the stranger whose strangeness is forgives strange. What we need is an ethics based on the proximity of strange. Non-relationality emphasize seeking the political in spatial movement and mobility. I mean, the non-relationality is a fluid way to understand what is ethics. Through the continuous adjustment of data inputs based on the movement distribution of food delivery workers, the fluid negotiation at margins become a performative experiment of algorithm itself. If non-relationality emphasizes how information is embedded within the structure and how knowledge is interconnected, non-relationality accentuates the points of rupture within the system. Regarding the organology of a technological system, Equi proposes a system mimics growth and a variation inside its own technical realm. Recursivity is characterized, he writes, by the looping movement of returning to itself in order to determine itself, while every movement is open to contingency, which in turn determines its singularity. So relationality is about contingency, to see where is contingency. In a mechanical operation model built on establishing linear cause and effect relationship, contingency may lead to system breakdown. However, contingency is essential as it enriches the system, allows for its openness and development. Delivery or company platforms engage extensively in algorithmic control across a wide spectrum, resulting in experimental differences between workers and control mechanism. Griesbach observes algorithmic authoritarianism on some platforms, involving stricter monitoring of workers' overtime and activities. Analyzing labor control, it is concluded that algorithmic control is essentially a reimagined form of traditional labor control, with algorithmic roles resembling those of middle to upper level management. On the other hand, employing algorithm in labor control can reduce corporate responsibility, essentially outsourcing management to algorithms, allowing companies to operate in legal gray areas of employment contracts. Unlike human bosses affected by unfair dismissal policies, algorithms are not subject to such constraint. Create a symmetrical process that where workers have minimal ability to fairly negotiate with the system. The operational mechanism of deep neural networks inherently create a significant level of opacity, making external regulation challenging. This type of algorithm does not support innovation, as it is entirely based on past data, effectively emulating the ethical logic of human centrism. However, many future events are not simple repetitions of the past events. In simple terms, deep neural networks are an upgraded version of traditional neural networks designed to simply artificial neural networks. Their operation does not process information positionally, but rather fragments it into piecemeal information. This results in significant technical and knowledge barriers that hinder the public oversight of such a system, or even though even though the system can have a substantial impact on people's life and create a form of power imbalance. So I argue the non-relationality may offer more pathway for people to negotiate with the system. The non-relationality offers situations, condition, or perspective that do not prioritize and or rely on traditional fixed or hierarchical relationship. It challenges traditional concept of structured relationship and opens up a space for more flexible, decentralized, or non-hierarchical forms of interaction. Algorithms are essentially abstraction created by human basis on their understanding of the world designed for computation. The discourse of the AI colonialism may hinder the true potential for change brought by the how do we interaction with the AI. As scientist Feifei Li suggests, there are no perfect model. Continuous input data helps correct algorithmic patterns. The paradigm shift of the ImageNet thinking is why a lot of people are paying attention to models, less paying attention to the data. Data will redefine how we think about models. So non-relationality is also about how do we deal with our relationship with data? How do we adjust the input to thus generate a micro correction? So thinking beyond the anthropocentric ethics, non-relationality enables between AI algorithm and a human corporeal to enter a shared flattened space through performance. Can such a unilaterally strengthening government regulation and contracts, emphasizing relationality, truly safeguard workers' right? According to current laws, insurance is closely tied to the labor contracts, and food delivery platforms employing riders through labor outsourcing are not in violation of relevant legal provision but not providing social security for riders. Riders inherently mobile and enjoying a degree of freedom are attracted to the flexibility of this profession, contributing to the growth and the sustainability of the food delivery industry. Imposing traditional labor contracts on both parties might backfire. In the current situation, decoupling occupational injury protection from labor relations proves to be a more effective and feasible approach. As scholars Lin and Tian remarked in an interview, we cannot presume to know what workers want. Workers themselves know what they want. So I give a little bit, not really mathematic, but I'll give a little bit illustration here. So here is the computer science, the how does the multimodal work in the artificial intelligence? So this is multimodal, this is the input, this is reasoning, and this is output. So there's different multi-agent here to make the artificial intelligence work. This is I transform the whole logic into the food delivery platform. So when we think about the non-relationality, where how does it function and where is the function? This is the contract algorithm mobility and non-relationality is negotiation between the algorithm and the infrastructure, the so-called platform and body here. So you can see the relation logic here. Uh, Also, there's a corporeal agent, and there's a algorithm scheduling. Then non-relational non-relation is a constitute a new platform between the legal contracts and the corporeal agent and to generate a performative output. So this is a very easy, not really a mathematical thing here, but to show I put it here is because I want to show the aboutness how to use the theoretical framework into the actual platform or industry. So yeah, it's a concept. So last, I gave an example here in Indonesia. Everyday resistance, skilled workers fighting back against the algorithms. Over the years, as more and more workers have fallen under the gaze of algorithms, a growing chorus of experts have noted how platform companies have paralleled the practices of colonial empires in user management tools to surveil and exploit a broad based cheap labor. But the experience of Yakutar's driver could reveal a new playbook for resistance, a way for workers to build collective power, achieve a measure of security, and take care of one another when seemingly no one else will. It began with the drivers converging on little hacks to make their daily work a bit easier. As more and more peers confronted the same frustrations, they spread their tricks through the networks like any other piece of information. Over time, those tricks matured into what Savirani describes as everyday resistance, the kind of tactics that helps drivers absent any institutional support to regain control in tiny cumulative ways. Casual prefers strategy known as account therapy, a way of algorithm when it isn't supplying enough of desired orders. So the driver used count to give him mostly food delivery, but found it too difficult to keep it up during the rainy season. Having observed the app learns drivers' preference by um, one moment. Keeping track of the job they accept. So he began repeatedly rejecting orders and accepting only passenger riders. After he persisted through a week of days without any work, the system finally got it. But the most popular with more than 500,000,000 downloads, which is a GPS. They give the illustration. A driver who is resting is still working, so this can avoid penalties for thinking time to help quickly graduate account and higher levels with more and earning potential. Such app also give drivers access to places with a high customers demand without requiring them to muscle into crowd space. So actually the condition here, because the cases are like a few years ago. Now because such a thing gave more and more review and reported, so people already kind of it's funny. So both the government side and the platform side are kind of improve the situation. The things why I still give a presentation and it's still meaningful here is because I think I solved the problem not from the human-centric side, but also to use it as an opportunity to ask what is non-human ethic. So the case is still important, but I use it as a question. What is non-human? What is artificial intelligence ethic? Non what is true the anthropocentric way to think about what is ethic? So yeah, this is how I propose the non-relationality here. And thank you so much for coming to this work session, and I'm looking forward to communicate with you. I pre-recording this video is because I'm sick recently. Yeah.